Welcome everybody. Thank you for all coming today. Another part of the flare's not working, that's all right. This is another edition of the Essex County Ghost Project with the historic Lawrence Heritage State Park during New England Parafest week. It's been an up and down Parafest year this year, I'll be honest with everybody. Some days are good, but you can't compete with the biggest thing on TV right now. That's the Bruins and the Celtics, and every time I have a fundraiser, the Bruins and the Celtics are on. And I can't compete with that. I try. But today we're going to talk about businesses and houses being haunted and some of the equipment we use. I'm going to have Bill come up here in a few minutes and talk about some of the equipment he has, and some of the equipment in front of the table here. So there are many styles of hauntings. There's mild hauntings, moderate, severe, and then of course my favorite, even though I hate horror movies, demonic hauntings. We don't get many of them, but the amount of phone calls I get that we got a demon in the house, if I had 10 cents for every demon, I would be driving a brand new Tesla right now. That's how many calls we get to the demonics. Then we get there and go, well, I'm not scratched, they're not scratched. Not a lot going on here. I don't know where demons come in from. Because the biggest misconception we'll get into that is black shadows. Not every black shadow is going to kill you. I'd be more afraid of a clown in the sewer than I would be a black shadow. Because that clown's going to kill you. The black shadow won't. What?
What kind of clowns do you know?
What? It? Yeah.
That's not a normal clown. Demonic clown.
Yes. So, how can you tell? Now, first of all, let's talk about the house or where you live in. Let's start there first. Well, first of all, there's always a history. I don't care if it was woods. I don't care if it was a mill building. And I don't care if it's a 1990s home or an 1890s home. There's history. So my favorite calls are two of them, actually. One, when we get the phone call, my house is haunted, it's brand new, it can't be haunted, no one died in it. That's good news to know ahead of time. No one died in the house, you built the house. Great. But what was there 30, 40, 50, and 90, and 100 years ago? Was it all woods? Then you get to the house and go, I don't see a tree on this property or outlining the property where you see they built the new development. Then you look at the tree line that's much more than 30 years old. Get me thinking, what was there? Well, probably a farm or something else. For example, we just did a house that was supposed to be demonic in Hampton, New Hampshire. And the reason it was supposed to be demonic, and we'll get into why you don't do this later on, was the girlfriend was cheating with the boyfriend's best friend. And the boyfriend decided to go out there and put a black spell on the guy. Pulled him away, they're happily still together. But the payback for that has not been pleasant. So we get up to the house, he thinks it's demonic. I'm thinking, well, maybe it is. I let the team know we're getting another demonic haunting. We get up there. There wasn't much demons. But what we did learn, besides a good dose of nicotine, what we did learn was there's a 1680s, 90s house and barn the next street over. As soon as we walked out there, Sarah caught it, I caught it. There was something, and the guy said there's some type of cape figure running back in his backyard. It's like residual energy, running back and forth, running towards the barn. So until I got to do some research yet, we're going to find out where this guy's buried, because I have a funny feeling he's buried on the farm. And guess what the farm is today? A 1950s, 60s cul-de-sac. with $500,000, $600,000 ranches in them, because we're in Hampton, New Hampshire. So he called it a demonic haunting. I'm going to call that a mild haunting at best, because nobody was scratched. I did have a mark on my body, but prior to going out there, we did 2 Tom live shows in the cemetery where I was walking through the woods. So, you know, that thing could have easily happened from a twig. It was hard to tell, because it was right in this area here where I did walk through some twigs. So we're not going to tie that one to a house. So that to me is a mild haunting. A moderate haunting would be a little bit worse than that, where you might start smelling strange smells. Not as bad as demonic, but they're getting more unpleasant. For example, the hotel I used to work at 3M, we smell this rose-colored perfume, rose-scented perfume. I called that a mild haunting. We called her Rose. Oh, Rose is here. Hi, Rose. So the next thing would be maybe a smell you're not too familiar with that you don't like. And I'm not talking about like sewer or death. I'm talking about something a little bit less than that. The lights start flickering more. There might be some touching, but not a whole lot. So that's a little bit more moderate. Yeah, it smells, you hear voices, where in a mild one, you might have to use an EVP recorder to hear those voices. And there are many different EVP recorders, from digital to tape. Tape works good from one angle. Digital works better from another angle. With a tape recorder, it's a little bit slower, the speed, so you might pick up a little bit more. There's no guarantee. But it's going to take you 3 times as long to go through it. With a digital recorder, you put it out there on the sound path or one of those wavelength things, and you just look for the little bumps, and you can move it over and listen and cut things out. And instead of 4 hours taking 10 hours, it might take 6 hours to go through, depending on how active the night is. Then you got the severe hauntings. These hauntings, all of the above differ. Okay, so now the smells get a little more foul. Objects get thrown at you. You're going to get shoved out the window like I almost did at a fundraiser at the Sandown Meeting House when I got up there and spoke to Catherine Doctrine at a Protestant meeting house. And I wasn't too happy. I got shoved back. I think Joe was there that night, weren't you, Joe? And it's about a 50-foot drop, 60-foot drop, so that would have been a fun crash out the window. He was not happy with me at all. So that could be a little bit, so the smells get a little bit worse. Things start disappearing. Oh, I put this down here and it ended up outside. Keys get moved, sometimes never reappear. Okay, so that's severe haunting. Then you got the demonic haunting. That's what the scratch is. We did a house here in Lawrence, North Lawrence, many years ago where, and this was a bad one. This actually traveled. We caught a horse and a goat sound in the house with a little, definitely demonic sound to it. A couple days later, the lady called me back saying, "You worked it. I'll tell you what we do afterwards, but your magic worked." I said, "What magic?" "I just saged the house to calm the energy a little bit." "Oh, it's gone." Then I'm on the phone with her. My friend calls me up who I told her to keep her triplets out at the house. I think, Joe, you remember that house? North Lawrence, near Bellevue Cemetery. That's all I'm going to say. It ended up in Methuen. Then it ended up elsewhere. Kept jumping bodies. We finally were able to get rid of it. I still got marks on my body from that case. And in fact, we will be going back. I was just there this past weekend helping out the family again because they moved from one end of the building to another end of the building, which was smaller, and upstairs was a complete mess of a disaster that we had cleaned downstairs over 10 years ago. So that is a demonic haunting. That's where you're going to get scratched, elevated, thrown. These are the serious ones. Don't try to handle them yourselves. It's not what you see on TV. You hope it is, but it really isn't. All right, the next thing I want to talk about, there is nothing wrong when you go using pendulums to ask questions. But some people will violently disagree with me on this. We've been to too many houses and seen too many things. So I'm gonna make the pendulum. So not my usual pendulum, it's in my other jack because I'm using that for my Tom Lives. So I'm gonna make this spin because this place has no energy in it, just so everybody knows, watching at home and in the building. So my yes is this. So if I ask a question, we go to a house and we get this, I know there's something there. My no is this. I can also ask what direction the spirit's coming in, as you can see. It'll move itself, but there is nothing in this building, so I'm doing to show you what pendulums can do. It's a way of dowsing, and you can use dowsing rods. Sarah's an expert on dowsing rods, among many other things on the team. But my biggest pet peeve is Ouija boards. Yes, if you know what you're doing with them, they can be just as safe as one of these. Oh, I must have a rock in my pocket. We'll get to this in a minute. One of my stones probably set that off because I got magnetic stones in my pocket. I always do when I carry my toxin. This works off of magnetic energy, so no worries there. So Ouija boards are a way to open up. So there are many different types of Ouija boards. The British use a glass on a table. It's called glass divination. We use that to close portals with. But it's the same idea. If you don't know what you're doing with it, you think you know what you're doing with it, you don't want to use them. Because if you don't close it right away, it's just like in the wintertime, if you leave the windows open and you got the heat on, who's the only one that benefits? Oh, Mass Electric. You don't benefit from it because your electric bill goes through the roof. Same thing with a Ouija board. If you leave that window open or the portal open, everything in their brother's going to come walking in. And it might not be your father, your grandfather, or Jimi Hendrix, or Marilyn Monroe, or anybody you think you want to conjure up that maybe just passed away. Carrie Fisher, if you're a Star Wars fanatic, you know, you want to go get Carrie Fisher's spirit. I wouldn't suggest using a Ouija board because you may not get Carrie Fisher, you might get something masking as Carrie Fisher. Same if grandpa, grandma, mom, dad, sister, brother pass away, especially if they pass away at a young age for whatever reason, doesn't matter. And you go to the Ouija board and go, I need an answer. Sis, are you here? Sister's going to answer. It might not be the sister. It might not be your mother. It might be something else. Then if you don't close it, you'll have entities coming through constantly. That means then it's time to call in a paranormal investigation unit to close what you did. So Ouija boards, unless you know what you're doing, they're not a toy. I have another great story of a Ouija board. I got to tell you this one because it's quite comical. Exeter, New Hampshire, if you're familiar with Exeter, one of the trailer parks, and this one, I always forget the name, but I can mention it because it's in 2 paranormal books of New Hampshire. They actually put a trailer park in the outskirts of Exeter going towards like Pease Tradeport out that way. So the outskirts, not the Hampton end. And when they built the park, they ripped out the old burial ground that was there. And they put trailers on top of the old burial ground. I don't think those spirits were too happy. A former co-worker of mine is telling me near Christmas, many years ago, because I was working up there, goes, I'm going to get my granddaughter a Ouija board. I said, wait a minute, your granddaughter lives in the trailer park. She goes, yep. Well, we used them when we were in 7th, 8th grade to find out who we're going to be dating. I want her to do the same thing. I said, I've never used one of those to find out at any age who, if I'm going to be dating somebody, but okay. You do realize, though, because you're on a haunted trailer park and a lot of bad activity happens in there, when you bring this Ouija board in, you're going to magnify it and possibly bring it to your granddaughter, right? Oh, I never thought of that. Well, you probably should have. Thank God I talked her out of buying the Ouija board and everything went well after that. But please, again, it's knowing the land you're on. I just mentioned the trailer park. Most people move into a trailer park. Home away from home. This is great. Uh-oh. I don't know what's going on. Trailer park was built in the 60s. We could add a few deaths in this trailer park from people who moved in and died and whatnot. But it continues and continues. Then when you go digging, you found out, oh, the trailer next to me in part of my backyard, what little place you do own in those trailers, oh, it was part of the old burial ground they ripped out. Oh, well, maybe there's a lot more spirit activity running around here than you would think. So, that's one way of finding out. Now, the other way of finding out, the other thing we need to look for when we go to a house, besides the smells, the taste, and what the general public calls up, it says, our house is haunted with demons. Geological factors. Oh, that's a big one, folks. I'm working on something big right now, which will probably be announced on National Paranormal Day, a new triangle, but we'll talk about an old one first. Bridgewater, if you live in it, there was a goat, not a pudge, yeah, was it a Pudgewucky? Yeah, it was a Pudgewucky. It was a Pudgewucky was actually seen recently as the beginning of last month in the Bridgewater Triangle. Had to take a dip on that one for a minute. So, but if you go back to Haverhill or any area, you got to look at, was there an underground water supply, earth tremors, windows blowing through boards and walls, especially you got a first period colonial. Sorry to say, they're not well insulated. They're well built, but not well insulated. So you have first period colonial, or even the 1890s home, or even the 1970s home, some of them aren't. It could be the wind blowing through, especially if you don't have triple pane windows. Traffic, we had a house in Hampstead, New Hampshire, that used to shake, and the people thought there was a ghost. We investigated it and found out why it was shaking. It was about 5 feet off the road. Old first period colonial home. There was a pothole in the middle of the road, and every time a big truck went by, it hit the pothole and the whole house shook. Needless to say, there were spirits in that house. We did find some, we got evidence of it, but that wasn't part of the reason. But we were able to get the shaking from stopping. She called and complained to the town. They came and patched it up, and goodbye shakes. But that didn't stop the paranormal activity. But that's what we're looking for. EMF. Bill, can you come up here for a minute, please? We got Bill coming up. I'm going to talk a little bit about EMF, and then he's going to show you. EMF is probably the biggest thing we're looking for. And that's natural or unnatural, depending on what you talk about. Your microwave. You don't want to be near a microwave because you're going to find out how real safe they really are. Someone like me is going to die real young if I'm not careful. I have a problem. This doesn't stop ringing. Wait till you see what we pull off today. Bill, can you put your cell phone with you on? Or Sarah or somebody. I got to do this. We did this the other day, and it's quite amazing what happened. So put that down there. So EMF is electric magnetic fields. It's safe from 00 to 05. We've had a lot of great cases where they were 199 and higher. Remember that one in Wakefield? Did you go? Yeah. Downtown Wakefield. We had water. We had train tracks that gives off energy. We had the perfect storm. And then you had high voltage wires going through a property. They were so low, I could stand on the roof of the garage and touch the wire. And then you had a building behind there that looked like something a gangster would use to have meetings when it was time to cancel contracts, if everybody knows what I mean. It was the perfect looking building for that. So this was quite the area. Yeah.
So is this the way that you guys tap in and see the ghosts are making phone calls?
No, I'm going to show you how. Is it ready to go?
All right, it's back. All right,
Good question.
you want to call the phone and?
Yeah, let's call the phone and do the phone thing first. I'll hold the phone up so they can see it. Tell me when you're ready, Bill, and I'll call your phone.
Okay.
So, someone like me that talks on the phone all day. So look at, this picks up electromagnetic fields, but look how high it is. How come, is your battery dying? There it is.
There it is. That's the radio frequency.
Going through your brain.
Now the 5G is in gigabytes. Okay? The old phones are in megabytes. So you're getting billions of radio frequencies bombarding your head.
So, just think about that one. Microwaves give off a lot of them too. And the other problem we have with EMF would be unshielded wiring in the house. Bill, why don't you talk about a couple of the quick meters and then we'll
Let me
finish
talk
up.
about the K2. You probably all saw this on ghost shows. They all have a K2. Okay? It's got lights. The higher the electromagnetic fields, the farther it goes up.
He's got two of those.
Let me see if this will do it here so they can see it. You can see the lights?
Well, this is the coin one. That's an older version K2 meter I call the coin
There you
one.
go.
Because in order to keep it going, you got to
See
put a
those
coin
lights
in
go?
it.
Okay, this goes from 0 to 250. So we got the K2, and I just want to talk about the
This will set off the REM pod, right?
millimeter. This is the higher above the K2. It also gives you the temperature of the room. So it doesn't have any bells or whistles, but it'll tell you the frequency, and then it'll give you the temperature below.
Which is 73.3 degrees in this room right now.
Yep, 70.3.
So now would it change if there was an entity in the room?
Yeah, if we do a baseline sweep with this equipment and we get a temperature reading that changes, we're going to go looking to see why. Was it a window that we might have missed earlier on?
Or is it an entity
Or is it an entity
that's there?
that's there?
Cold.
Yep.
All right, next is the ghost meter. This gives you EMFs too. We'll see in a second. As the frequency goes up, electromagnetic fields,
So doesn't
quicker
that?
and quicker. Okay? That's what we look for in a house. EMFs. And finally, we got the cell sensor. Now this will give you EMFs and also will give you radio frequencies. You can see. Goes off slow. As if electromagnetic fields go up, it goes faster and faster. It also has got a dial here that'll tell you the milligauss, which you can't see, but you can see the thing going crazy.
So is that box supposed to be simulating a ghost?
Yeah, basically.
As you can see.
Because not every place we do talks at have spirits in it, but they want us to have spirits. So in order to bring the equipment, we have to simulate this.
Yeah, I got this stuff to simulate it.
Yeah. And the REM pod, which is underneath it, if someone says there's a spirit walking down the hallway, okay, we'll put the REM pod with a camera right on it and leave it alone. If the spirit walks down the hallway, just like we're giving the spirit here, this whole thing's going to go off. And it lights up you'll see it, it's hard to see it in daylight, but if the house is dark, This thing lights up like,
EMF fields go up, this goes up, and these light up. All of them light up.
yep, the batteries might be slowly on that one too.
On yours?
Yeah.
You guys swept the building with that equipment?
What building?
This building?
Yeah, we sweep. the-
No, we never swept this building.
No, not this.
You mentioned that there are no spirits.
But houses.
Correct.
We sweep.
Talk to some of the people who worked there back in the day. I don't know if you know who Dave O'Neill is.
Yeah,
Or Karen Miola.
right,
Both of them say this place is very live with spirits.
right, but we never formally investigated it, so until it's formally investigated by, because I can go by, like I said, I get phone calls, ring, 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 I got demon in my house. We get there, just like the house with the guy who thought, you know, delving in black magic to get back at the girlfriend's fling or friend, works. Well, sometimes when you do that, if you believe in threes, it's gonna come back and hurt you more than,
No, because you mentioned it like 3 or 4 times
Right.
in the conversation. That
Yeah.
there were no entities.
right, because we've never, yeah. No, we've never officially investigated this. I will.
Now, one more thing.
Oh, one more thing, yeah.
One more thing. This is a radiation meter, okay? Usually you got radon in the cellar,
Yeah.
especially in New Hampshire. And this will check for the radiation of radon.
Oh, okay, that's
Radon
working,
gas.
right?
So this
The
is a
battery's low.
demonstration of it. This is radioactive.
But it's safe,
It's safe.
yeah. It's properly contained. I mean,
Just for demonstration,
right.
that's why I...
They use this all the time for demo. The only way this would hurt you is if you put it underneath your pillow and sleep with it every night,
Well, if you swallow it,
or you swallow
it'll
it.
give you cancer of the lungs.
Yeah.
Now, certain ghosts are obviously made up with different materials.
Now, this is for radon.
Radon, yeah.
Radon gas.
Yeah, radon, but
Well, no, because radon, if your house has got radon gas in it, it could give you the shadow figures, it could give you the paranoia.
Yeah, well, yeah, you'll hallucinate. You will hallucinate if...
Yeah. Hold on, Bill.
there was radon there more than if there was a ghost
Correct,
imitating as a ghost.
correct.
Most houses have a radon detector in the cellar usually. Some people don't, so.
But it's always
They
good.
should.
Right, it's always,
And your well too can have radon, so if you're taking a shower, you're getting radon. If it's in the well, it'll go on you.
Yeah, I know we had to do a radon test when I bought my house.
yeah,
Just to make sure that there wasn't anything legal.
You live in New Hampshire?
no.
I live in Thornton.
Oh, I'm a thorn.
But even anywhere around the Merrimack Valley, wherever you got granite, you got radon. You don't need the big granite quarries in Derry and North Salem to have radon. All you need is a little ledge in your backyard. And in fact, not too far from here, down there, Holy Family Hospital is actually all ledge. That whole sides of that hill coming down, I always forget the name of the street, but the walking trails there's a street that comes down over Bloody Brook, then you can either take a left or right on Jackson. That's all ledge in there, because I know who built those homes. Family members lived there. That's all ledge. Ledge is granite for the most part around here.
I used to work for a hot tub company. You find a lot of ledge,
Yeah,
not just up towards the New Hampshire border.
no,
You find it a lot just digging out driveways, believe it or not.
It usually seeps through the
yeah.
walls in the cellar.
The radon does, yeah.
Radon, yeah.
But you're gonna find ledge all over New England. And granite, I mean, okay, we're in Lawrence, Massachusetts, but sorry, New Hampshire's not that far from here. Granite didn't stop at the line when granite was coming out. It's all over the place.
Do the salt quarries produce any kind of like radon?
Where? Oh, yeah, stone quarries will, yeah. We've been to homes in the Bridgewater Triangle that were built in stone quarries. You don't want to see what this equipment does. It actually sometimes gives us false readings because of all the energy off the stone. We have to remember where we're at. Even using a pendulum and dowsing rods in a stone quarry could throw things off.
Yeah.
Because that's just the nature.
Yeah, I would like to iterate on what Tom was talking about, the hauntings. Right, there's well, he named 3, right, including demonic.
Yeah.
What you didn't name is the poltergeist.
No, I did not, no.
Poltergeist haunting. All right, that's interdimensional creatures that come through a portal.
So you guys do exorcists too?
No, we don't do exorcism. We call somebody in.
We'll call the Johnson boys in or somebody else. I mean, I've tried it a few times, minor things.
Last
But
time you use a priest.
if they want one. Not everybody. We have to find, see, what's the great thing?
I've only seen the movie.
Right. The great thing about, well, one of the good things, we talk about education. These are educational things, okay, because we're not investigating. Education is important. Training, learning the equipment. But more importantly, you got to know your client. Because if they're atheist or Native American or Jewish, bringing holy water and a Catholic priest to the house is going to do, you're going to be throwing holy water on the floor. You might as well just use it to wash your floors. And no disrespect to Catholics.
Find more spirits like in a house that's been built on a Indian burial ground?
We have done those, yes.
But do you find more?
Well, the
Yeah.
house, if that happens, the house is not haunted, it's
The
land.
ground, yeah.
So there's no way you're gonna get rid of it.
No, we can calm the land down by feeding the land with tobacco, bringing a shaman in, and sometimes you can calm it down for a couple of years, and then it's gonna pick up.
Starts coming back.
Because that's why paranormal teams don't charge, because there's no guarantees. The pipe breaks, or you buy a new stove, and they're putting it in, and the stovetop breaks, they're gonna guarantee you either a new stove or a stovetop.
Now, let me iterate now on this. There's residual haunting, which is like a tape, and something goes, say, through a house at 3 o'clock. Almost every day, does the same thing. But it doesn't recognize you or not, just does the sting, it walks through. Residual hauntings are number one. Most people will run into a residual haunting and get frightened, of course, because they see something walk through. All right, then an intelligent haunting is something that acknowledges you. It looks right at you and nods its head. All right? Those are very, very rare, but it does happen that you have an intelligent haunting. And then the poltergeist haunting, they want you to believe that it's demonic. So they start banging on the walls first and moving things, throwing things, and frightening people, and they run out of the house. They don't want them to go back to the house after that. But the demonic haunting is worse than a poltergeist haunting. The demonic haunting, the creature, whatever it is, can lift a refrigerator up, where a poltergeist can't do that. All right? Paul Eno, that's what happened in Connecticut. He was investigating a house. And you had firemen there and police, and they all saw the refrigerator up in the air, 400-pound. They move it right in the middle of the kitchen, and down it went. Everybody saw it. And then when they tried to report it, none of the police or the firemen said they saw it, because they'd probably get fired if they said they saw it. Yeah, so the only Paul reported, but the other ones wouldn't say anything about it. But they saw it with their own eyes, the whole refrigerator went up in the air, and down it went. So whatever it was, the demonic entity picked it up, moved it, and just put it right.
A demonic entity, yeah, people have been hurt by them.
Also,
Yes.
Paulino got hit by a TV. The demonic entity threw a TV at him, hit him in the leg, he had to go to the hospital. He cut his leg.
So how would
So it was, the Warrens were there too. They were investigating that. Because they investigate demonic things. I don't know if you heard of the Warrens.
Ed and Lorraine Warren, the famous demonologist.
You know who they are.
Okay.
All right. I'm all set. Good job.
All right, let me just give you one other thing that happened locally. And it happened locally. It happened here in Lawrence and in Methuen at almost the same time. We'll talk a little bit about some type of poltergeist activity, actually. Because no one really got hurt. People got scared, but scared and hurt are two different things. I get it. We'll make it quick. On Tuesday, April 25th, 1963, a family was at home watching TV. All of a sudden, water started shooting out of the couch. They didn't know what was going on. Scared the living daylights out of them. The cascade of water was running like a waterfall out of the couch, out of the walls, so they're looking for broken pipes. There's no broken pipes. It's the Mountain Tree Farm in Methuen. Oh, which, by the way, they tore down and built a housing complex in there now. Should be fun. Kept going. The family moved to Andover Street here in Lawrence, in South Lawrence, right over there, that way. Yeah, that way. Yeah. I drew blank where I was at here. The water followed them there. National media came in, the fire department, the state police, everybody was called in. I'm surprised the Warrens weren't called in at this point. They never were. So they continued to shorten this because this is a talk all on its own. And then on one day, about 10 days later, the family came out, said it was all gone, it never happened again, they moved back into the house. We don't know what happened. I only seen this story a million times in Halloween in the Eagle Tribune when it says Haunted Merrimack Valley. And then I went back and researched the home. The family never let anybody in there to do official research or a ghost hunt. But because it's always in the newspaper, up until about 5 years ago, they stopped the Halloween things. I figured you could kind of talk about it as a Haunted Merrimack Valley thing because, hey, it was public already. So yeah, so that's a poltergeist. And some of the stuff we use is sages, different sages, blood sage, white sage, and all this other different types. Sage just calms the air down. And depending on what I mix in, we also use tobacco. Depending on what I mix into it is depending on, if it's a simple house, I'll just run around the house with sage and sage it down. No. So, and if they're Catholic, I'll use holy water. What I usually do is I put the sage into a seashell, start it up, and then you walk around and ask the archangel or the spirits, whatever you're doing. If they're Catholic, I'll ask Archangel Michael. If they're Native American, I'll ask Native Americans.
Feather?
That's a feather. Just the feather. And then you just go like this and let the smoke go right around the house or the business. Yeah, but it would be the same, but it would blow out a lot quicker too. Because you're not, right, you're not burning this. We actually, once the fire starts, you shut the fire off and you're smoking it. You're just getting the smoke like this. That's why I use a seashell. You don't use plastic and burn. And this thing gets hot enough. If we have a big house, I'm going to the second seashell, or I'm stopping there for a few minutes, going to the kitchen sink and running this under cold water, because this does get hot after a while. I mean, you got a small house, it can be done. But if you got a big business, say the size of this building, I'd probably have 2 or 3 people, we don't need it, but 2 or 3 people in the size of this building saging, because we'd be burning hands real easy. I want to thank the Lawrence Heritage State Park for letting me using this today. Thank Lawrence Community Access TV for filming this today. Thank everybody for coming in. If you want to take a look at some of these haunted pictures at graveyards and the Lizzie Borden house and a few other places. Some of these I don't mention because they're private homes, so I leave them alone. We got Tenny Gatehouse up here. That's a public building. We got this that was taken in an energy circle in the cemetery at the 2nd West Parish Burial Ground. That dog face thing, that's pretty. So just check that out. I want to thank Dave, thank the park. They did a great job. Thanks, Dave. And have a great afternoon, everybody, and I'll see you in the paranormal. Good day and good night.